Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Braden, and we are going to learn the economic systems and its globalization today. Here now, let's begin. Today, for the agenda, we are going to learn 4 different types of economic systems, which are traditional, command, market, and mixed. And yeah, that's our agenda, and we are going to begin right now. So we are going to contrast traditional economies, command economies, and market economies, analyze how each system organizes production, distribution, and consumption. And we are going to explain gross domestic product, its components, and its significance in measuring economic performance, and assess the importance of and effects of globalization on economic growth, cultural exchange, and political dynamics. So first, introduction to economic systems. An economy is a complex system that involves production of goods and services, buying and selling activities, employment generation, and it requires coordination of countless individual decisions and actions, creating a vast network of interactions, mechanisms needed to organize and align various economic activities, ensuring production meets societal needs, and approximately distributing employment, using resources efficiently. Understanding these mechanisms and their interactions is crucial for managing the economy effectively and ensuring stability and growth. So the first type we are going to talk about today is traditional economies. And about traditional economies, it operated based on customs and traditions passed down through generations. So, which that means is if your dad is a teacher, and pretty much you are going to be a next teacher, and that's how the traditional economics works. So that family roles and occupations are typically inherited. So that's what we're talking about. With most families engaged in farming or other subsistence activities, which means the occupation that you are doing is following your ancestors, so like your dads and your grandpas and stuff. And next, economic activities are centered around farming, hunting, and gathering using traditional methods. Limited economic growth and development due to reliance on age-old practices found in parts of Asia, Africa, and South Africa, often in rural or isolated communities. And this type of economic systems is kind of outdated, as we can see. The next one, command economies. For this type of systems, the government controls production, pricing, and employment. The government controls them, and the economic goals are set by a ruler or ruling class, which is kind of required and commanding for the country. Ancient Egypt focused on pyramid construction as a major economic activity, which is one of the example for command economies. Modern examples include Cuba and North Korea, where the government dictates economic decisions, which means that the government decide everything without taking the people's opinions. Yeah, and command economies often provide necessities like healthcare and education for free. The next one, market economies. Market economies are characterized by private enterprise where individuals or groups own and operate business, which is really different than the command economies. Supply and demand dictate production and pricing decisions. Rather than central government planning, market forces such as competition and consumer preference drive economic decisions, leading to efficient resource allocation. And this is the most used, the most popular systems in our world today. Most of the countries using this system as their base economic. So, for example, the New York Stock Exchange exemplifies a market economy by facilitating the buying and selling of stocks, based on market conditions, which they allow which they allow the market to decide the price of certain goods and services. And then the last one, mixed economies. It blends command and market systems. So it kind of combines both of them, and its private enterprise and government intervention coexist, such as US economy, oriented includes regulations and government programs, such as Social Security, Medicare. In European economies, for example, Sweden and Germany are using the system of mixed economies. They combine robust welfare states with dynamic market sectors. And for China's economy, state-owned enterprises and growing private sector. And hybrid approach goals harness market efficiency, ensure social welfare, and address market failures. And most economic freedom in our world, in our the first place is Hong Kong, which is a a province in China, which is our the most freedom area. And second is Singapore, as we can see in here, and third, New Zealand, and in the fourth place we have Switzerland. And the least economic freedom, as it is covered earlier in the lesson, the last one is North Korea, as we can see on the news and everything. And second to the last is Cuba. I have no idea why that is, but it's on Google. And third to the last, Venezuela, reasonable. And fourth to the last, Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is the country that printed a lot of money and just make the goods and services in a super inflation stage within their country, which is not good. And regulations, which is another really important an important part in economies, because the government is basically controlling the economic systems through the regulations and others. So it is the rules of the game, kinda. So the role of regulations is define rules for market participants and ensure fair competition and protects property rights. And it prevents fraud and maintain a level of playing field, which kind of balance the economic. And the market-oriented economies, regulations against theft, violence and fraud, mandates for tax collection and contracts enforcement. For command economies, extensive government control over production, pricing, and distribution. For underground economies, transactions without government approval, driven by excessive regulation or tax evasion. For balance part, the dynamic aspect of balancing market freedom and government rules in any economy. And then for the second part of the lesson today, the rise of globalization, which is really important for today's lesson. The factors of driving globalization is that it refers to expanding cultural, political, and economic connections between people worldwide. Advancement in transportation, such as the container ships and air cargo, have significantly reduced cost, enabling more trade. Technological innovations in computing and telecommunications have made it easier and cheaper to manage long-distance economic activities. International agreements and treaties have facilitated greater trade by reducing barriers and encouraging cooperation between nations. Globalization has impacted economies by increasing trade, promoting economic growth, and fostering cultural exchanges. Globalization metrics, as this is data that I provided. as we can see, it is 12.6% of US exports as the GDP in 2015. And the US kind of, it seems like they lend they have the last GDP that lean on export, which means they are focusing more on their own domestic products rather than Mexico. They basically import everything and well import and export everything for their to contribute onto their GDP. And information overload in the information age, transforming through data in farming. This is an actual knowledge that we can know. Farmers now rely on detailed data streams for decision making. Global positioning systems and historical data drive planting and harvesting. Data helps maximize production efficiency and profitability. Impacts on media resource allocation. Instant access to information drives media decisions. Data determines the allocation of reporters to news events. Efficient resource use is crucial due to the scarcity of resources, and which means that media resource is a really good, helpful resource that we could use to analyze, to know the information from outside. So here we are in practice problem of the lesson. The first question: what is a traditional economy? A traditional economy is an economic system where traditions, customs, and beliefs shape the goods and services produced, often involving farming and trading within the family. And second question: what is the primary characteristic of a command economy? In a command economy, the government makes all decisions about what goods and services to produce, how to produce them, and who receives them. Third, what is a market economy based on? A market economy is based on private enterprise, where individuals and businesses make economic decisions based on supply and demand, which is the most reasonable one out of four. Yeah. Next, explain what GDP measures and why is it an important indicator of economic health. GDP measures the total value of all goods and services produced in a country within a specific time period. It is a key indicator of economic health and growth. Well, this question doesn't really quite cover the lesson, but it's good to know. Yeah, it's GDP is a major acronym that is in economic, so it's good to know. Yeah. Explain how regulations can affect market efficiency and economic freedom. Regulations can ensure fair competition, protect consumers and workers. It prevents market failures, but however, excessive regulation can stifle innovation and efficiency. Next, provide examples of how real-world economies combine elements of command and market system. This one is the hardest in the question practice problems we have today. So mixed economies combine elements of both command and market systems. For example, the US economy is primarily market-oriented, but includes government regulations and social welfare programs, which is kind of combined a little bit from the command and market, but who knows the best. And thank you for today's lesson.